All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. So, yes, finally got out of the house last week and went to see a show, and it was something that I have been waiting to see for about 18 months. Back in probably February or March of 2020, I decided to buy my wife a birthday present, and that was 2 tickets to go see Casting Crowns at the Hertz Arena. This, of course, was back in 2020. The concert was supposed to take place, I believe, in April of that month. And of course, we all know what happened with the lockdowns and all the restrictions that came and just shut everything down. So they rescheduled the concert, and then they canceled it again. So we were thinking at this point, I might lose out, as far as the money I spent on the tickets. It really wasn't that important as far as, the financial loss. These were pretty good floor seats. And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe they'll reschedule. And they did yet again. And the concert finally went off on last Friday night at the Hertz Arena. It was Casting Crowns along with Matthew West. And holy crap, Batman, I've got to say, that was the best Christian concert I've ever been to. I was in Christian radio for a number of years and had the opportunity to attend a lot of Christian concerts. Local churches would put on shows, or there'd be larger shows. I count Casting Crowns as one of probably maybe up to 10 super influential and legitimate Christian artists of the past, I will say 40, 50 years. Now, there are exceptions to that rule, but when Christian music became legitimate to me was when you had bands like Jars of Clay in the 90s and DC Talk and PFR. There were just a handful of bands that weren't sounding, shall I say, hokey. Put Third Day on that list. If you liked Third Day, you were a pretty cool person. You know what I mean? There were just some bands that elevated the art form. And Casting Crowns, their debut album, I was actually working in Christian radio when that album came out, and that was a game changer. Lead singer Mark Hall, who has kind of a darker sounding voice than a lot of the Christian music artists that people, sort of gravitate toward, really just changed Christian music. And again, Third Day, Casting Crowns, and there are other bands out there that are legitimate, but for me, they're just a handful of artists that I really respect in the genre. And Matthew West made a believer out of me. Matthew West opened up for Casting Crowns, and he just had this great stage persona, tons of energy. By the way, just to update folks on what it was like to be at the Hertz Arena, there were very few people wearing any sort of facial medical devices, probably maybe 2%, maybe as high as 5% of the crowd. In fact, the promoters of the concert, or one of the sponsors of the show, a radio station called The Way FM, a couple of guys from their outfit got up there to introduce everybody, and they were mocking the whole idea of having to wear something on your face, which I found to be very refreshing. And most people applauded and cheered. Matthew West sort of did this thing where he started singing this song about the whole lockdowns. And at one point he said, "I'd keep going, but I can't think of anything that rhymes with Fauci." So I was cheering all of that. I was yelling and screaming, and I was very happy to see that there are some normal people out there. And this was a fairly packed house. This is a pretty big arena where they have hockey games and they have a lot of other events. I know Chris Stapleton and Sheryl Crow are going to be there next month or sometime. I don't know. I was checking out all the different things they had coming up. But Matthew West, great performer. His band, when he got out there, was all electric and supercharged. And then he would just grab his acoustic guitar during a lot of songs. And his voice is just spectacular. Again, he broke in almost the same time the Casting Crowns came along. And he had a song out back in the early days called More, which is still one of my favorite Christian songs of all time. And he's had just a slew of big time Christian radio songs that are very catchy. He's a great songwriter and just a terrific performer. And he also has a song with Casting Crowns called Nobody, which I think was the song of the evening. Casting Crowns came out and then they started their set. Lead vocalist Mark Hall has been battling cancer and had surgery a couple of years back to remove a cancerous portion in his kidney. So that was, you know, he had a lot of testimony about that. These are no nonsense people. This is what I love about a lot of Christian performers who are humble and who really just value their ministry and their music. And this was about those things. This wasn't about being a rock star. I mean, Mark Hall was wearing a sweatshirt. Okay. This is, and his band, either family members or people that have been along for the ride for quite some time with Casting Crowns. They have a couple of female singers who are just phenomenal. Their entire presentation is just, you know, you're definitely either glued to what Mark Hall is talking about, or you're just completely enthralled with the music. During the show, there were a couple of worship songs that were sung that were done really, really well. Songs that these guys didn't originally record. I think, I want to say Matthew West did one and Casting Crowns did one or two, but basically veering off their catalog. With Casting Crowns, there's so much material that, you know, if you have a favorite song, they might not be able to do it, but they did a majority of their catalog, and they introduced a new song called Crazy People, which I thought was another show-stopping moment, even though it was a brand new song. You'll have to go listen to it when it comes out. Not sure if they've actually released the single yet, but I think it's going to be a pretty big hit because it talks about how people who believe in God, people who go to church, we're the crazy people. And that makes sense to me these days because everybody is being told that, you know, certain beliefs aren't okay, but certain other beliefs are what you need to, you know, follow. And I think Mark Hall, who likes to make a point now and then as a, you know, definitely he's kind of a preacher. I know he basically runs the kids ministry or the youth group at his church. So he's still involved at the grassroots, regardless of how famous or important, you know, he becomes. He never really forgot about his roots in the church. And Matthew West, pretty much the same thing. Just a tremendous performance. I was surprised, honestly, how good both of these artists sounded. The music sounded quite a bit like the radio versions of songs, so everybody kind of gets it. Nobody is sitting there going, wow. A lot of times you go to a rock show, like just, you know, regular secular rock show, and artists will veer so far from what the song sounded like when it was on the radio that it kind of leaves you wondering, you know, can they even perform it that way, or are they just bored and they don't want to do it that way? These guys, they understand the power of Christian radio. I'm not a huge Christian radio fan, but what Christian radio does is they still have this top 40 mentality. And people say they're listening back in June of 2017, and these songs are on the radio. And that, again, will link them with that period of time. Whereas pretty much every other format has sort of lost that feeling, that flavor of sort of experiencing these songs at a certain moment in history, which will always link you. Hey, what was I doing at that time? I just got married or just had a child, some event in your life that you can trace back to what was going on at the radio level. So highly recommended show. These guys too were really happy to be back, and they praised the state of Florida. They even mentioned out loud during the concert, I think it was Matthew West, that said a lot of people are moving to Florida from California. He's a Nashville-based artist. A lot of Christian artists live in Nashville. Casting Crowns, I think their home base is still in Alabama. I think it's Montgomery is where they're all originally from, or at least Mark Hall and his family. So again, it was just great to get out, and people were having a great time. The place was packed, and we'll see what happens. Maybe it's just going to be a giant super spreader event, and we'll hear about how nobody should have went to the show, or but nobody was thinking about that. Nobody was checking any QR codes when I got there. Nobody was asking why I didn't have my medical device on my face. Nobody cared for the most part. And I think people need some freedom. They need to enjoy life again, whether it's Christian music or secular music or whatever. People need to get out there and experience some life again. And I'm glad I was finally able to honor my wife's birthday after 18 months. And once we got in, I said, happy birthday. We did it. So it was a great show. Two fantastic artists, highly recommended. Even if you don't like Christian music, these guys will make you think, and they'll make you feel good. And obviously they have a higher calling. And if you don't understand that calling, then you probably won't understand, going to a Christian concert. It's more than just a concert. It's part worship experience, part concert. It's serious, but yet it's lighthearted. It's just better when you go to a concert like this and you actually get more out of it than just great music, which you do. So that's my review. I'd give it, out of 10, I'd give it 9.8. It was really great. All right. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing, and I will see you all soon.